Hola, hola. I'm Zulean Cruz-Díaz, your Texas Rican host, and this is Una Preguntita. Each week, you and I take one big question and break it down to grow in this real and messy life we live in. From engineering to farming in Hawaii to running my own business, I have learned that life does not come with a manual, pero sí con preguntas, with questions. So, tell me, amigui, have you ever felt like you're thriving in one area of your life but lost in another? Yeah, been there too. Each week, you and I dive into the stuff nobody really teaches us: how to lead, connect, and communicate better, y con tools that you can actually use. Grab tu cafecito, get comfy, and let's figure this out together. Esto es Una Preguntita, where curiosity and understanding lead to action. Vamos! Ooh, Ami, do I have a treat for you today? We are talking with Naomi Cambridge, and I'm just really excited for this conversation we're having about dispelling social norms. So, before we get started, Naomi, I'm going to give my amigi, our listener right now, a little background on you. So, amigi, meet Naomi Cambridge. She is the kind of soul who makes deep conversations feel like a warm cup of tea on a rainy day. She's a passionate communicator, a youth leader, and an international advocate who somehow holds old soul wisdom and contagious joy all in the same breath. Naomi doesn't follow a script. She creates her story as she moves, led more by her vision and action than by fear or doubt. She's spoken up at global forums like COP28, built youth-led initiatives, and championed change for communities most in need, all while keeping her feet on the ground and her heart wide open. Through her podcast, Notes and Quotes, Naomi invites all of us to slow down, to reflect, and connect with ourselves, with each other, and with the bigger picture. Amigi, here's my conversation I had with Naomi. As we do every episode, we always get started con una preguntita. And that's how we got started this time. Naomi, why do you believe we need to dispel some social norms?
Oh my gosh, so many reasons. I feel like our entire being of who we are when we're in, our adulthood or really at whatever age we are is made up of the things that we learn throughout our lives. We're really just a mosaic of all of the different experiences and people that we interact with. So the things that we internalize are so crucial to what makes up our mindset and then as a result who we are and how we think about ourselves, our lives, other people, how we react to other people in the world, how we express our own emotions and stuff like that. So I feel like when you have harmful norms that are internalized, then it in turn it ends up having a harmful mindset and then a harmful living experience. So it's really, really important.
Is there like a specific one that you can come up with, or that's like at the top of your mind that you're like, I want to dig into this? Like, let's do this today.
Yeah. So many come to mind because I really love just analyzing society and thinking like what are some messed up norms that we have, but the one that really resonates with me is your worth is tied to your productivity and just like that hustle mindset, that grind mindset. Oh, it's so terrible and I am so guilty of internalizing that and I still fight with that all the time. But yeah, that one's a big one.
Yeah. I feel like we need to hear that again. So what was the norm again?
Yeah, your worth is tied to your productivity. Such a lie.
Yes. No, it really is. And like, it is so hard because if you're not doing well, quote unquote, doing well at work, or you aren't busy and your whole calendar isn't filled up from like the moment you wake up, maybe at 6 a.m. all the way until 10 p.m., you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, am I
Yeah.
actually doing something productive? And because they're so tied together, it's crazy how that really does affect your mind in a way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every single time that I wake up in a day and I don't feel like I've checked off enough things on the to-do list, then I start to feel like bad about myself and what I've done throughout the day. And then it's like, well, you're just a bum, it's like all these different kind of
Mm-hmm.
subconscious things that come to your mind because we think we have to always be going and always be doing something to like have worth.
Isn't it crazy? It's almost like we think of ourselves like as robots in a way, right? Like
Yeah.
if you are working for like 12 hours straight, that means that you're going to have X amount of output, almost as if we don't burn out, or almost as if we can just continue on the same path, even though our mind can only take so much decision making per
Hmm.
day. And just our energy in general just kind of goes up and down depending on what time of day it is.
Yeah, we definitely forget that we're human all of the time. And I think there's an element of social media as well, because that mindset of just productivity and go going is really normalized online. Like you see the day in the life videos of people who are waking up at like 5 a.m. and just working out and then going to do all of these crazy things, and that's expressed as like their daily routine. And when you look at yourself, it's like, that's not what I'm doing in a day. I don't even remember what I did this morning, and I definitely did not wake up at 5 a.m. So it's just kind of just that mindset of, oh, okay, well, this is what everybody else is doing. It's a social norm. So I should be pushing myself to a higher standard and forgetting that, hey, I am, like you said, human, and your emotions ebb and flow and your energy levels ebb and flow, and you can't expect yourself to just be at 100% all of the time. It's just weird that we expect ourselves to do that.
Like I'm thinking back at my at my own life, my own experiences. And I've realized that especially after, so I've been an entrepreneur for 2 years now. Like May
Mm.
1st was like my 2 year anniversary mark. And
Oh,
it's been
congrats.
really thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's been a huge learning curve because I my last job was hourly. So however many hours I worked was how much I'd get paid. And so that almost feeds into this direct notion of like your worth is tied to your productivity, just because if you
Mm.
switch out productivity, I guess, per hour, which would get you an income, is
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, it's a little complicated. But as I became an entrepreneur, I'm like, well, now I have all day. Now I can work all day. I'm not just constrained to X number of hours per day or per week.
Yeah.
And it took a while to really just like start taking those pieces apart, because I realized if I work 12 hours straight one day, the next day is not going to be another 12 big hour day.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
I'm going to need time to recover in order to actually get output. But your worth isn't tied to productivity. Ooh, so maybe I'm still thinking about that it is.
Maybe. Because you're now thinking, like, what is. I mean, it's a good thing as well to think about, how do I maximize my productivity? I think that's really positive and that's how you grow. But at the same time, are you judging yourself if you don't meet that mark? You know, like if you work
Mm,
12 hours one day, and then because you work 12 hours that day and now you don't have energy to work, like, I don't know, 8 hours the other day, are you now judging yourself and saying, oh my gosh, I barely worked today, and you're not giving yourself enough credit for the fact that you basically burnt yourself out from yesterday, you know?
mm-hmm.
So it's good to think, okay, how can I maximize my hours? But I think it's the mindset that you have to couple with that, like giving ourselves grace. That's the thing that I still struggle with all the time.
So, like, what do you say in your mind? Like, what do you tell yourself in order to, because it is a conscious thing that you have to be thinking about and reframing what you're telling yourself internally. So, like,
Yeah.
even though we're still learning
Yeah,
to
definitely.
break those apart, what do you tell yourself in your head?
Oh, okay. So if I'm having a day where, let's say, okay, so the night before I told myself, okay, these are the markers of what I want to complete tomorrow based on my to-do list or based on whatever. And I wake up and I don't have it in me to wake up at the time that I was going to wake up at, and then I oversleep or something. And that's obviously a terrible start to the day. Now I'm feeling already bad. I have to remember, okay, well, first of all, this time has passed. Like I cannot do
Mm-hmm.
anything about that. It's gone, it's done. So I now have X amount of hours left in the day to turn things around. How am I going to do that? Like what's the best way to do that without letting myself feel like, oh, you've already messed up and you're already terrible and you're not productive and whatever. And then at the same time, if it turns out like, oh, it ends up not being a productive day, that's okay. Like, I'm a human being, first of all. I remind myself of that. And I remind myself that so many people have low day. Everyone has low days, and everyone has days where they just need to take a step back. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, that was only one day out of the week that I needed to take a step back. If you have to take 3 days out of the week to take a step back, I have to try and just tell myself, this is normal. This is fine. The world is not going to come to an end. And one of the things that I really do as well is sometimes I'll just go out for a walk, and that puts things so in perspective for me, because when I'm inside or in the office or something and I'm working and I'm not meeting the productivity markers that I want to meet, and I'm starting to like beat down on myself, everything seems so much more massive when I'm looking at it right there up close. And then when I get outside and I'm walking and I'm looking at everyone else doing and running around throughout their day, and I'm looking at nature and whatever, everything seems so much smaller, and it puts things in perspective for you. And it's just like, okay, it's not that serious. And there's way more to life than just being productive. And those are the things that I have to constantly remind myself of. And those are the practices as well, because it's one thing to just repeat certain mantras in your head all the time. After a while, it gets like old and you get desensitized to it. So if I do the practices as well, it helps. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing.
And when you talked about going out for a walk, it reminded me of, have you heard of the podcast Hidden Brain?
I have. I came across that a couple days ago. I haven't listened to it yet, but yeah, I saw it.
So I'm going to send you a specific episode. It was from a while ago, but the person that was brought on to Hidden Brain, the scientist, he was saying that they had done research on individuals that went out to like hike a really big mountain for, I don't remember if it was Everest or a different mountain, but what they did is that they interviewed them at different points at the mountain. And so one of the points was on their way back. No matter how far individuals had gone up or part of the mountain and come back, everybody had a much smaller sense of self, in the sense of like they realized how small they actually were in comparison to the earth, right? In comparison to the universe, in comparison to the mountain view. And that sense of awe was what really helped them shrink themselves down in a good way, right? Because what you were just saying, right? In the moment, everything feels so like pressurized and so tight, and it's the end of the world if I don't get this done by 5 p.m. sharp.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, when you think about it, potentially the next day or maybe a week later, a month later, like it really didn't matter.
No.
And what really does matter in life are certain values that you hold on to, right? Whether that's independence, whether that's travel, whether that's family, whether that's whatever that is for you. And so in the big scheme of things, we do, as humans, we do need to do things to get ourselves out of our brains to realize that we are smaller. Because when we feel like we're too big, the problems we're facing feel way too big.
No, I totally agree with that. And you don't even have to like, I know that was just that one scenario, but you don't have to go on some massive big adventure to realize that. I think just getting out sometimes, for me, it's in nature and it helps me put things in perspective. But for some people, it's other tactics. I think one that is kind of universal that might work for almost everyone is just looking back. So putting your acknowledging where you are right now, and then looking back and seeing all of the things that you've completed, and realizing that, okay, you've gone through so much worse and so much, other hurdles of productivity that you are facing right now. And then at the same time, just look at how far you've come in general, and it makes you realize, okay, I actually have done a lot, and I don't need to be this stressed right now. And I am worth so much more than completing this deadline at the moment, and it's going to get done. It might not get done. If it doesn't get done, it's not the end of the world, and I'll be fine. Because I remember when I was a kid and I started getting asked, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up, and all this stuff, all those normal questions, which I hated because I had no idea, and I still don't have any idea. But I was told, oh, you should do all of these things, like you should do this and you should do that. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? My only goal in life in reality, and I thought that it was just me being a naive kid, but in reality, I still have this view, was my only goal is I want to be happy. That's it. Like, I just want to be happy. I just want to be at peace. And that's it. Like, I don't need to have like a big house. I don't need to have X amount of money or whatever. Like, I don't need to have achieved all of these massive prescriptive things. I just want to have happiness and peace, whatever that looks like. And then it's so funny that I still have that mindset, but then it's juxtaposed against me being hyper productive and wanting to like meet all these markers. And then when you realize that and you look back and see that was what the mindset was, that's where I've come from and that's what I still hold. Those two don't match up together. Like, just trying to be hyper productive and tying my worth to my productivity and just wanting peace and happiness, those two don't line up properly. And I have to then realize, wait, there is more to my life than just being productive. And I actually want more out of my life than just being productive. And you just have to remind yourself of that.
Mm-hmm. I, at the very beginning of when I started my company and doing workshops, one of the workshops that I used to give, or one of the topics in one of the workshops, was a happy life is one part goals, right? Like one part oriented for whatever your ambitions are,
Mm-hmm.
and one part values. And they both have to come together in a way. They have to be synergies, right? Like, the example I used to give was, if your goal, let's say it's financial freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your values are creativity and you're super good at different modes of art, right? But you are working a job that will get you financial security, right? Financial freedom, that gets you closer to that goal. But all you're doing is working on Excel sheets, and it is
Mm-hmm.
super draining for you because you're not using what you're really great at with using creativity and different elements that you're already naturally gifted with.
Yeah.
Your life is going to feel unaligned. So it has to be a way that you embed both in order for life to feel more connected, more like you will actually get to the goals and you will actually live whatever your values are out. For me, what I think of values is I think of it as something that gives you life, gives you energy, versus like, I value XYZ. I feel like that is too big, at least for
Yeah.
me, to grasp. So I switched that word, or the definition of value, I switch it for what brings you life, what brings you energy.
Mm. And how do you like go about finding what gives you life and what gives you energy? Or is it just something that you kind of know within yourself, or you have an idea of it, you just need to like pull it out?
I think it depends for different people. I personally have to sit and reflect. And the best way I do that is either talking out loud. You know, I'm a
Same.
verbal processor.
I do that too. Yeah.
Or it's sitting down and writing with a journal.
Mm.
What happens to us when we're writing is that we have to slow our brain down in order to keep up with writing our thought. And so what that does is it helps us process a topic deeper because we're
Mm-hmm.
having to slow down, and then that makes us connect to different ideas and different thoughts. And so as we're journaling, as we're writing, we not only get out our thoughts, but we also start making different connections because we have to slow our brain down as we're writing these thoughts down.
Wow. I literally never thought of journaling that way, by the way, because that makes so much sense, because I always heard people talking about journaling and the benefits of journaling, and I don't doubt that they're there. I've just been like, it
It
feels like
just
I'm
sounds
just
like
writing.
iffy, like,
Yeah, it just felt
like
like
in
I
your
was
little
just writing.
diary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It literally felt like that. And I was like, I love talking out loud to myself. People think it's weird all the time, but I talk out loud to myself all the time. Um,
Same.
and it helps. So I thought, if I do that, why am I going to do journaling as well? That makes so much sense. I mean, you still have to slow yourself down when you're talking out loud,
Mm-hmm.
because your mouth needs to keep up with your brain, and they're not at the same speed. But you slow down even more if you're writing, and that is such a great way to process thoughts in the way that you explained it. That's quite fascinating, actually.
Yeah. And when you're able to reflect, when you're able to slow down a little bit more, you start making other connections. And I think that's
Yeah.
the really important part. So like, learning isn't necessarily that you're retaining information, it's that you're able to connect the information with something in your life, an
Mm-hmm.
experience. So like if a little kid is learning math, right? 1 + 1 = 2. When they're able to go to the grocery store and be like, oh, 1 banana, 2 bananas, you have 2 bananas. That's the actual learning part. It's not when they're like
Mm.
in the classroom learning. It's the when you're actually able to make connections. And so um, when you're able to journal or reflect, that's when you're starting to really see what brings me life. Like what have I seen, what trends? And especially if you've done it for a couple of weeks or a couple months or a couple days, you're able to start reading back and seeing like, oh, this wasn't just a thought that came to me. This came to me like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, it really pulls things out for you, actually. I might start
Hmm.
journaling. Oh my gosh. um, yeah, you might have turned me a little bit. Yeah, so I think that that's a really interesting way to think about that, and then tying that to productivity as well. It's like the same premise of slowing down, and the benefit of that, you're not going to be able to have perspective on what's really important in life, what you really value, if you're just kind of have the blinders on and you're just going and trying to meet all of your markers. And then it ties back into like why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why are you being productive? What are you doing this for? What's your ultimate goal? And that's sometimes why I stop as well, because my ultimate goal is happiness, and then happiness is brought about through pursuit of my ambitions and my passions and all that stuff. um
Hmm.
but I still need to pace myself with being productive with those two, because sometimes I still have those norms eating away at me in my mind. But then I think to myself, how much of this do I actually want? So I know that you brought in a norm as well for us to
Yes.
discuss.
Yes. And so this probably actually was a great transition because my norm that I want to dispel is more is better. And
Mm.
so, so I live in Texas, and in Texas, everything is bigger in Texas, whether it's your plate size, whether it's the cars, whether it's the houses, whatever it is, everything is bigger in Texas. But it comes from the notion of more is better.
Mm.
There, I'm a huge podcast junkie, by the way. Like, yes, I have my own podcast, but
Yeah,
I also consume a lot of podcast content.
me too.
And one of these, yeah, and one of these, there was a podcast that was talking about, it was a professor, and he was a professor of, I think, design or architecture, one of the two. And
Yeah, yeah.
so the professor had made this assignment to his students because he was redoing his house. They didn't have the option of moving to a different place, but they were going to have another kid enter the family. They were like, this is a small, tight space. Like, what can we do in order to accommodate a shift that we need to make?
Hmm.
And so he gave it to his students. The constraints were, this is the house, right? You can move walls, you can move things around, but you can't add on.
Okay.
And so what they did is that they ended up coming down to, instead of adding, what you're going to have to do is take out. And
Mm.
so I can't remember how exactly they designed the house, but he then came up and used that same idea of like, oh, maybe it is actually better to take off things, right? So have you seen little kids and they're on bicycles, right? There's some
Hmm.
that have the little training wheels on the end. So they have the two main wheels, and then they
Yeah.
have the little two small wheels on each side of the back wheel. So that was one way to teach kids how to ride bikes. Then came another engineer that had designed a bicycle, and it had the two wheels, but they took out the pedals. So instead of
Oh,
adding the pedals, because that's the hardest part of biking, right? Is like
yeah.
learning how to balance on it. It's not necessarily learning how to move your feet on the pedals,
No, yeah,
it's
it's the
learning how
balance.
to balance. And so that's where that bike came in, where you now see little kids like zooming around and they're using their feet to push themselves off the ground, but there's no pedals. There's only the two
Mm.
wheels, the front one and the back one. And so he had come up with the idea that less is, sometimes it's not more is better. Sometimes you have to take things apart. But I brought this in because I have a question for you. Is this like
Yeah.
just an American thing where more is better, or is it worldwide? Like, tell me your thoughts.
I think, oh, okay. So I have two thoughts about it. I think part of it is an American thing because globally, the whole notion of like more is better or bigger is better is associated with very much like Americanism, just like the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think I don't know if it's either trickled into global culture from America or if it's just like a global thing as well, that people do think sometimes that more is better. Maybe it's just consumerism and maybe people just think like I need to have all the latest things and I need to like get all of these things and I need to have as much money as I can and I need to do all of these big things. Maybe that's why, but at the same time I do think some people do think more is better. It also depends on how you're raised. So if you were raised in like, I guess there's two ends of the spectrum. If you're raised in an extremely wealthy family, you might
Mm-hmm.
just be conditioned to think that more is better because more is always around you. Or if you live in a really, really impoverished family, then you might think more is better because it's not what you have and it's always what you're craving. So maybe that's why. I don't know. It's a bit, I guess it's circumstantial.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to mindset, right? Because let's say you're a millionaire, but you're still living month to month because you're spending that much, right? And so you
Mhm.
still are living month to month, even though you are a millionaire on paper. And the same thing could be as somebody that's in poverty, right? Like you're still living month to month or barely making it to the month. So you do want more in order for you to not feel that tightness, that constraint.
Yeah.
Um, so I wonder if it goes, yeah, back to mentality of what do you see around you, right? Your perspective, your perceived viewpoint of an experience, of a thought. And if you're using comparison, right? If you're comparing yourself to others, because if you do that, then more will always be better because it's perceived that you don't have enough, right? Like the other
Yeah.
side is greener. Um,
I
I
think
butchered that
that's
line, but
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on there actually, because I think a lot of it does come from comparison, just people looking at other people and then like once again through social media when you're looking at online about at all of these different things that people have, you're thinking about what you don't have. And it kind of just highlights what you don't have. Sometimes you'll be completely content with your life and what you have. And then you'll look online or you'll look at somebody else in your real life and you'll then, what you don't have is highlighted. And it's
right.
now very apparent to you. And you feel like, oh, more is better. I need to have this thing in order to be
Mm-hmm.
whoever I want to be, in order to, because sometimes we admire people and it's good to admire people. It's great to have inspirations and stuff. But I think when we do that, when we admire someone and when we're inspired by someone, we want to become like them. And so a lot of times that is coupled with thinking that we need to get more things or we need to become more. And there's a good side and a bad side to that because once again, growth is a good thing. But what are your values is the same. It all comes back to everything we were talking about. It's all kind of linked together.
Every week I'm asked, like, what did I learn this week? And I would love to ask you, what did you learn this week?
Hmm. Okay. So, I've learned so much this week. I feel like I learn little micro life lessons every week. But the one that definitely stands out to me is probably discipline and motivation are two different things. So,
Oh, tell me
yeah,
more.
it's something that I have only recently learned. Well, I learned this week. But basically, when I it's the same, it goes back to the same post-it note actually. If I don't want to do something, I'm going to do it anyway because I can't wait around for myself to feel motivated. To be honest, motivation is such a fleeting feeling. It's so
Mm-hmm.
fragile. It's I don't even know how to instill motivation really. Sometimes you can do it by hyping yourself up or by, somebody else encouraging you, but it's really, really fleeting. Discipline is extremely much stronger than motivation. So hypothetically, if I wake up one morning, I'm doing so many morning situations because my morning was shot this today, so it's like the only thing in my
That's
mind.
where your brain's at
But
today.
yeah, it's literally the only place my brain is at today. But if I wake up in the morning and I'm saying, "Ugh, I just really don't want to do my exercise routine. Like, I just don't want to do it today. I really don't want to. I don't have that motivation." Because some days I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. It's going to be a great day. I'm going to go and do all of the different things I know I'm supposed to do. And that's great. It's super
Mm-hmm.
easy that day. But then on other days, like today, where I feel just I don't have the energy to do it, uh, I cannot rely on motivation. There is no motivation. So I have to give myself the discipline. And it goes back to that same thing of my future self. I think about one, how is my future self going to feel if I don't do this or if I do this? And then you kind of have to not think about it because when you leave your brain thinking, oh, I'm waiting for the motivation, your brain then gives you all of these different reasons why you shouldn't do that thing and why,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I should just stay in bed because it's great to get extra sleep. Or, I'm just tired. Maybe I should just get some more rest. Or, oh, I haven't checked social media today. Maybe there's something really interesting on there. All of these different things, the longer you wait, your brain's going to give you more excuses. So you just have to not think about it and get up and go. And that's where the discipline comes in. And I apply that to so many different things because I've just got like everyone else, I've got things to do. So discipline and motivation are two different things. So that's my biggest lesson this week that I will try my hardest to carry into the next week as well.
Y'all, I loved that conversation. Make sure to follow Naomi on her Notes and Quotes podcast, which I'm going to link down below in the show notes. And she's always on all the socials, so I will also include those in the show notes. That's the show, amigui. Si te gustó, if you liked it, make sure to share it, rate it, and write a review. ¿Qué aprendiste? What did you take away from today? Como siempre, I'm your amiga Zulean, and I'm sending you off today con un huge abrazo, amigui. Nos vemos en la próxima.